So when you do Honte Kamai and you're starting to do your strike, if you pull all the way back, that's okay. A lot of times in the kata, you will adjust this front arm so that you're not pulling back. You're actually attacking forward, okay? Boom. Now, in the basic Kihon practice, this hand is about where it wants to be, so you just draw back here, come over the top, and step. Draw back, and step. Now, when you're going forward, you want to hold your step. Okay, if I start stepping right now, I just used a bunch of my body power to lift up in the air a stick that weighs about a pound. Okay, I don't need to use my body power for that. Hands are faster than feet. If I start my hands and I start my feet at the same time, my hands are going to finish their movement a lot quicker, and they'll be ready by the it's like when you do shomenate, hand comes up and you pop them. You're not waiting until you hit them before you get your hand up. When you do this one, back, stretch, step forwards. And you can see this is not a lifting step. One of the things about having this Jo out in front of me is that this hip is already freed to move. I don't have to hoist my hip up in the air to drop it in front of me, okay? So let's all get out to the edge of the circle here, and we'll do Honte Uchi. So Honte ni Kamai, Honte Uchi Yoi, turn the thumb, bring back. When you do this, it's got to be in a straight line so that I can still pool cue my enemy if I need to. Nuch Hajime. Hey. Back. Hey. Back. And I think we might be able to do one more here. And now we go backwards here. Hey. Okay. Free up that shoulder so that it's coming from above. You don't want to come around the side like that. There are one or two cases where you'll do that, but you want this to come like a circular saw blade. Okay? The other thing I want you to be conscious of is there is a lot of power in Jodan position, with your hands here kind of maybe one fist forward and up diagonal from your head. So we do this in the releases, we do this a lot of kata, we do this kind of thing. Swords do this all the time. When I'm striking with the Jo, where'd this hand go? Boom. It's that position. That allows me to use my entire body motion to move forward into the strike. And you'll see that over and over. When we do a trap, we bring this hand right here into Jodan position. If in one of the kata you have the sword and you're blocking, you come to Jodan and you use the block, and then you can cut immediately. So there's a lot of times that you'll see movements in Jo where the hand comes right through this top center position, and it becomes very powerful. So let's take a look at the second strike now. This one, Gyakute Uchi. Remember, I have this right in front of my center, so I can just reach out here and take hold of it. Then I step into Kamai. And remember that I've got the stick set up so my hips are turned mostly forward, knee is bent. Same hand and same foot's forward. So if my right foot, right hand, there we go. Now, this one there's no hand changes. Do make sure that you can feel the end of the Jo in both ends when you draw back here. So I've got my fingers right at the ends of the Jo. Now, I'm going to start moving here, bring this up, no hand change. Guess what I'm going to use? I'm going to use my grip on this little finger to start bringing this forward. And once again, this, not here, here. Back and strike. Same timing with the step. back, and step. Draw, raise, strike. And check your hands each time to make sure they're in the right place. You want to check your stick, making sure that your stick is, say your hand here is to the side, it wants to be here. If you point both fingers, yeah, there you go. And you should have this strength of position. Very good. All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Hand separation.
About this far. Okay? Now, if you're too far out in front, it pulls your shoulder forward and you lose your posture. All of a sudden, when my hand starts going, shoulder starts going forwards, you see that your hip starts going back. So I'm not attacking anymore. Now my body is retreating. If I'm too close together, I don't have any control over the stick. So I want to be maybe one hand span apart here. Okay? And when we call yame, you turn to honte kamai. Motoi means put it by your side. All right? Just back. We did yesterday this one also, the third position. This is called Maki Otoshi kamai. And key element here is my hand is open. My pinky is right at the end of the stick. This hand is just laying by my side, holding it this way. This hand is just laying by my side, elbow is brought up so that the hand's in the center. Now there's a targeting element. If I'm standing looking at Eric and I've got the stick this way, my stick is actually pointing over there. So if I want to aim here, I want to aim from my right hip basically to your right hip. So it is a very shallow diagonal. Now this is lined up with my feet. And it's just barely across posture. And your perspective on this should be that you can't see the stick very much. Right now you're aiming at Chris. Yeah, look where my front foot is. This is my front hand, this is my front foot. Don't change your feet. There you go. And turn your body almost sideways. Whoa, not too much. There. Just about like that. Now, if you take this posture and just close your grip, the stick turns over on its own axis. And that'll tell you where this is going. And one thing that we want to avoid is we don't want to lift this with the back hand. If I lift the stick with the back hand, I've got a lot of play. I mean, I can go all kinds of different directions with it, and you don't have natural movement of the stick anymore. If I just engage this grip, it starts moving where the stick is aimed. So this means, of course, we have to make sure we aim the stick correctly. When I start this technique, my right hand slides from here to here. It's doing it at that time almost following the motion of the stick. Now, from this point, my right hand is aiming. It's almost mainly stopping the stick, okay? So when I'm here and I do this motion, the power is coming from back here. And I think I described it yesterday as like the cartridge in a gun. The cartridge is here at the end. The sight is down the barrel. So you have to make sure that you're using the proper movements. If I start to strike with this, I'm only using that much stick. This is all wasted. So I want to use, in all of my strikes, the entire stick. And I want to stretch my entire body. So, Dale, can you grab a sword? Right up there. If there is a sword in front of me, then I want to be cautious and I can't step forward. If I start stepping like this, he can just push the sword into me. So I start here. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but I adjusted my foot a little bit because I want this position. I want to reach the sword one fist down. This is the monoichi, the cutting area of the sword. And I want to reach that with about the middle of the stick. And then I'm going to slide the stick down and to the left, or to his right. And what that does is it does basically a Sumi Otoshi on him. I want his hips to be thrown to that back corner. And they talk about the distance of the follow through being about 3 feet out and 6 feet back. If we had tatami, that's coincidentally the same size as one mat, and it would be really obvious if he's standing on a corner as to where this needs to go. Here, and you can see what that slide does is it throws his hip, as opposed to if I just hit the sword. I'm not trying. If you ever watch Chambara sword movies, and sometimes they have a lot of this hitting the sword business, nobody wants to hit a sword. I don't want to hit a sword. In this case, I want to get this sword cleared so that I got that control of his center. So Hiki Otoshi here. My hands come into position, and one of my senpai talks about needing to weaponize the stick. In other words, stick right here is not doing much. Now it's doing something. When I've got this grip on it, it suddenly becomes a weapon, whereas right now it's not. Right now I'm just walking along with it. Now it's a weapon. So Hiki Otoshi is this changing from almost a relaxed position into an attacking position. Now, if he has the sword down, and a lot of the katsus, we did Hisange yesterday. In Hisange, I've got him trapped here. He's going to step out and turn and then step back. And I've got this position here. And you probably don't want to get your wrist broken at that point. When the sword is not threatening me, I'm going to strike with my step and go right to the eyes. So when we practice Hiki Otoshi as a Kihon, generally, if we're doing it by ourselves, go ahead and strike to the eyes. Use your forward hand to control where it's going and where it's stopping. And use your backhand for power. Let's try Hiki Otoshi. This is number 3. Hiki Otoshi ni kamai. Step in. Make sure your body is aiming the stick where you want it, off of your front shoulder. Okay, tight into the body. And notice that this is here. It's up in front of my oppai, in front of my left nipple. This is where the hand is. Okay, and more sideways stance. So turn the shoulder a little bit and aim this way. Yeah. Okay. Hiki Hajime. Hey. 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 And watch the timing. Hey. So I'm not stepping in front of the stick. Going backwards, I want to get my butt out of there. Hey. Hey. And I'm replacing my body with the strike. Hey. Hey. Yeah. And you got to remember, this guy has got a sword. My sword's going to be about this long. Your stick is a little bit longer than my sword. So if you put this right in my face, all of a sudden, I can't quite get to you. If you choke up on it and you're here, then you're gone. Okay? Yeah. Okay, Hiki Otoshi. Let's take another look at something else you do with Hiki Otoshi. Hante and Gakute. If I have this kamai here, look where my hand is. We just did it this way. Now my hand's turned. This is now trapping position. Okay? And trapping position, I have the middle of the stick, and I put it in Jodan. Put my hand right over my head. Here. Then I'm going to take steps. Okay? This is a later kata, later kihon, excuse me. But I wanted to just remind you that what you have, where you have your hand, it makes a difference on what you can do with the stick. I could strike here with it. I could strike here with it. Yesterday we had a lesson on suppressing the hands. And when, just come in with, don't worry about the sword, but if this is a sword here, and what we did in Skizue was, as he came to attack, suppressing the hands here. And not just letting him push me out of the way, but actually suppressing. And I think Pat had a good point that if you touch the center, then it kind of gives you a fulcrum to hold. The other one, Monomi, was suppressing the hands out here. I don't have the center, but I have his front foot. And I'm suppressing his sword hand. So he can't really even let go of the sword and do anything effectively with it. With number 3, Hisange, we came in from Maki Otoshi with my hand in a reversed position. When he came to attack on my head, I came in underneath. Now I'm suppressing his hands from below. When the sword's up, you can control him from below. When the sword's down, you can control from above. So this is just kind of showing you what happens from this kamae. And the theme yesterday was trusting the kamae. And the very first kamae here, you have to trust this, that if you stick this in his face, he can't get to you. This is similar to the idea of putting shomanate out there and letting him try to do whatever he wants to you, but I'm sorry, he can't get through. You have to control that center line. That's what this does. Okay? Let's go ahead and we'll move on with some more of the Kihon, because I want to kind of get you all of the basic strikes, and that way you'll have a corpus to practice on. I think we showed this yesterday. We did this one, Hante Kamae, and then doing Kai Shizuke. Kai Shizuke has an interesting place in the middle of it. The stick comes up here. You notice right at this place it's actually shielding me. My entire center line is shielded from the enemy. When I drop into here, as soon as those two circles on the ends are lined up, and my hand over here, I have the ability to do this thrust. So this is called Kai Shizuke, the turn and thrust motion. So together, Hante Kamae, all the way on the end, please. There you go, pushing out. Then cup the hand, turn the hips, and hold, thrusting forward, come up to the eyes. Again, cup, turn the hips, thrust the center, come up to the eyes. Okay, going backwards, cup, turn the center, thrust, up to the eyes. Cup, turn the center, thrust. Yeah, this is kind of wild. Really what I'm doing here is, if you think about it, when my front shoulder is forward and my hand is forward, I don't want to let the stick go sideways. So it can only go up and down here. When I turn my hips, this shoulder recedes. This shoulder goes forwards. So that actually does all this work for me. So I'm not lifting the stick. If I take time to lift the stick, my center comes up, then my center drops. Now I've got to lift my center again and step over. This takes forever. When the guy with the sword is out there doing that timing, he's got an up-down cycle, but he's going to kill you. You got an up-down cycle, you got to do it twice. So this up and down, it just takes too long. And what we want to do is we want to use horizontal motion to strike. Very good. Okay, and let this slide through your hands. So when I open my thumb and back and turn my hips, I come here. So this is Kai Shizuke Yoi. Yoi puts you here. Kai Shizuke here. Yoi. Hajime. Hold. To to the eyes. Again, spin, thrust, up to the eyes. Oh, going back, spin, thrust, eyes, spin, thrust, eyes. Okay, so this puts you once again in this position. And remember, on this mat, I remember this lesson very well. Hanteuchi is always hanteuchi. It's not different because I got there from here. When this happens, this is the same as this hanteuchi. It's the same as this hanteuchi. So, strong kamae, consistent kamae really are the key to having good, efficient Jodo techniques. All right, let's go to the next movement. Remember I said there's a defensive point in the middle of Kaishizu. If I'm here and I just, without changing the hands, come like this. This is called Gyaku Teizuke. Gyaku Teizuke has a defensive element because I've got this stick over my head. It's also got a thrusting element here. Come all the way back. Notice it's straight over my head again. Hante striking forward. Okay, so this is Gyaku Teizuke. Okay, let's together. Hante ni kamae. Gyaku Teizuke yoi. And notice I've turned my hips, twisted my hips a little bit. When I step forward, I'm going to square my hips. Hold. This is a spearing motion right into the center. Notice I've squared my body at this point so I can really get them. Back, I'm sideways again. Hey! Hey! Right forward. Again, up. We're not going to be able to go forwards. Let's go backwards. Hold. Hey! Okay, so pretty easy. Let's do it again. Hold. Back. Forward. Hey. Hey. Here. Now, that middle portion of this, let me borrow Pat for a second. I'm going to grab a sword. I always like doing this just because it wakes people up after they've had lunch. So, when Pat goes into, from Hante Kamae, and he goes up into this position, where are you aiming? Right now you're aiming maybe down here. Yeah. There. Now, see, this way. So you've got a clean line. And you should be aiming right at my sugets. So if you step forward, sugets, boom, right here. This is like gigging a frog or whatever. I live with a bunch of Aggies, so they gig them like that. But I saw a bas-relief in, I think it was the London Museum, of a Persian battle scene. And they're on a chariot. Okay, so the warrior chief there has got his horses and he's got the chariot. He's got a driver right next to him who's driving the horses, and he had a big spear like this. And it's a long spear with a big weight, a counterweight on the end of it. And why didn't he just use a whole spear? Because he's going to hit his driver if he does that. So he's got one about this size, and he was out there spearing these poor foot soldiers as he was driving through them on his battle chariot. And I thought, well, that's what you're doing there. Boom.
George's dragon.
Yeah, same thing. So when he does this motion here, first off, he's holding me off at this place. And one of the things we're talking about is controlling the center. And right now he's got control of center line. When I raise up here, he got that right up over his center, and he's controlling my center. Now, if he's on time and I start to come in, he can just pop me right here and throw me backwards. The other use of this posture is to use the stick as a shield. So when he brings this stick up, if I'm fast and I try to come at him, just about any angle that I try to get, if I'm on the center line, I really can't get to you. And this is what I call trusting your kamae. You put the stick where they can't get you. Okay, and we'll take a look at a couple of the kata that do this in a little bit. Okay, so let's all together. Let's do. We just did Gakute Sutsu together. Let's go to the next one. I also want to show you something. If you do Kai Shizuku, the fact that Kai Shizuku starts here means that you actually have this position, this shielded position, all the way until it drops into your attack. So you're never not covered. You minimize the transition. So I'm safe, 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 you're not. And that's kind of your feeling with the Jo. If you think of this as pulling it out of the way, well, it got over here and I've got a big opening. So we want to use proper posture of the kamae, of the kihon, to drive our techniques. Okay? So let's do one more kihon. Honte ni kamae. This kihon is called Maki Otoshi. It is a coil. Now, if my hands are on top of the stick and I roll up both hands, now both hands are underneath the stick and I have the stick at an angle that is, here you go, 45 degrees up, 45 degrees to the side, and 45 degrees back. Now, your bottom hand right now is like this. When you did this, roll this up so that this is cocked wrist back right near your shoulder. The front hand is this pushing hand up. So this is my coiled position. Now, when I do this technique, I want to uncoil my hands and then step. The technique Maki Otoshi has a shape like, they say, the letter J. It's down and up, or shi in Japanese is shaped the same way. So when you do this, catch, uncoil, and throw. Okay? Let's do that together. Make a big movement from Honte ni kamae. Maki Otoshi. Yoi. Hajime. Hey. 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 Okay, and there really isn't a backward version. You can do it, but it's not used. And let me show you something on this. Pat, let me borrow you. Is that Maki Otoshi, let's say if I come in here and he catches this. Right now, the sword is on top of the Jo. What happens when you uncoil your hands? Look what just happened. He just rolled that around, so now the stick is on top of the sword. Now he can drop straight down and run this into that Sumi Otoshi position. And I've got to go with it or the sword's going to leave my hands. You can do Maki Otoshi from there. It doesn't have to be done from this full wind-up, but that's a really good way to do it. This is also a bailout position. Sometimes in a kata, the sword's just coming and you just have to catch. That's all you can do is get your hands up. Then this prep, I want to show you the little piece of that. Go ahead and catch Maki Otoshi. Now, when he uncoils his hands, do you see what that does to me? Little bit, just a little off balance. And then he's going to use both hands together with his step of his full body weight and to throw this. Okay? So that's how you're using Maki Otoshi. And I have a little story to tell about that. Kaminoda Sensei used to be a very highly ranked kendo. Well, he is still highly ranked, but he was active in kendo. And he said that once he learned Maki Otoshi, he would cross swords with his opponent and just do Maki Otoshi and pop the ski. And he said after that, it got boring. So he never found anybody that he couldn't do that to, so he just quit doing kendo. But anyway, let's together take another look at this Maki Otoshi.
other teachers have said that this is like the hardest, most impossible thing to do, right?
Yes, yes. But it's kind of like Aiki. I read a story, I think it's in Hidden in Plain Sight, that one of the students had gone to Takeda and asked him to teach him Aiki. And he says, well, I'll teach you all of the Daitoru techniques, but I'm not going to teach you Aiki. He says, I could teach you that in 5 minutes. But he wouldn't teach him. And I thought, well, if this is something you can learn in 5 minutes, it's a skill. It's not, you know, some mystical thing you have to meditate on for 30 years. Well, the body preparation helps in finding it, but the actual skill isn't that much. Doing it consistently is what you got to practice, and being able to feel where it is so that you can do it to anyone. But so those are the first 6 Kihon. We'll cover some more tomorrow, and we were talking about controlling the center and how to use Honteuchi. Now, a bunch of you have never done any Jo before, so I'm trying to think of how we can do this that would be helpful for everyone. Let's see. If I think I'm going to demonstrate. There's a kata called Ichirei, and Ichirei starts from this position here. Okay. Pat or Dale, you want to grab a sword? I think you may have done Ichirei. So if your knees are bad, it's perfectly acceptable to start this way with your knee up. This also for women is preferred. But when he comes in to attack, men cut. Sumi-san, you're going to start from sheathed sword. So you come in and, sheathed. You're going to walk up and do an EI draw at about the right range. Yeah. So as you start coming forward, you don't want to have your hand on the sword the whole time. What you're going to do is you're going to walk up and reach for your sword. Okay? So I'm sitting here waiting for him. He's going to come up and reach for his sword, and I come right down here and crack him on the wrist. So at this point, you can't draw to me anymore. As a matter of fact, you're kind of getting to the point where you can't draw at all. Okay? Now, as an EI guy, what would you do with that to get your sword out?
Well, I might consider coming. Oh, that ain't gonna happen.
Remember I talked about suppressing the hands. I'm not going to let you just lift your hand and go through me. You're going to have to back up. Okay? Now, in this kata, in this kata, what you're going to do is, come up and strike right now, Honte, straight through the center. So this has already suppressed my ability to use the sword. I'm going to come out and draw. You see what I did? I'm lowering my hands and drawing out here. Do Gyakute strike right to my head. So now I've got to stop this here. Well, I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut here. So when I do that, what I want you to do, you know this motion? Here. We'll change roles again. Honte, boom. Gyakute, boom. Now, in this place, you're going to have to save yourself.
Oh, we're doing this.
You're going to have to put your hand here, flat. Make sure the edge isn't touching your hand. And there. Now, so from here, you're going to take a half step back and cut in. And I want you to watch what I'm doing with this hand. Don't come too far off line. I'll just have to follow you. Here. Okay? So what I'm doing is from this position, coming into this position. Okay? And there's your vector. Okay? You can't cut through the stick, so you're going to cut around it. Now, at this point, he's going to raise that sword. Look where I am. Right behind the stick. And I'm going to do this. Hante right through his face. Here. Okay? You want to try that?
Hey.
This is all just to demonstrate what you're doing with Hante-uchi, what you're doing with controlling the center. And this is a really powerful technique of just dominating, going right through your enemy. So, I don't know if you noticed this, but I lifted my hands up a little bit. So I can get my hands out from underneath. No, Gyakute first.
Oh,
Hante. Gyakute, put me on the defensive. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about this.
All right.
Trap my center. Come right in here. Get that hand up here. Yeah. See now, if you're controlling my center, I really am going to have a hard time getting to you because you've got this thing right here. And that's what I call trusting the kamae. This position here gives you, let's go back to the Gyakute when you've got Gyakute in this place. See where your hand is? When you come in, drop this here, turn your body. Yeah, well here, let me show you. From this place,
backhand comes up, hand stays in the same place.
just here. Yeah. So from this position, gyakute, gyakute, gyak. There you go. Drop this into me. Come under. Yes. There you go. Now, if you go sideways and you try to run away from me, guess what you did? You just redefined the center line.
Right.
I'm still looking at you, and I still can't get to you. If you drop the stick, no good. If you pull the stick back behind you, no good. But if you have it right in the center, I got trouble. Okay? So, this is a use of gyakute. When we go through this, you'll see the hante. This is just hante, gyakute, a trap, and then hante. So I'm really getting at that final hante. That's really what I'm looking for. So here, immediate, come after me. There you go. Now, when I draw back here, bring this hand down. No, this hand down here, and keep your. Basically, you scoot in a little bit, and you want to get your body sideways behind that stick. So here, once again, I've got this same problem. I can't get around him. Then turn your hips square and get your hand up around the end. Turn your hand over at the end, and strike right through my center line. Don't step forward. Just bring your feet together and drop your other foot back. And you feel how that weight dropping into the strike. I don't have anywhere to go, so I come back here. Even if I'm cutting at that moment, it throws me offline. And in this kata, we're going to do this last movement of the kihon. You hadn't, probably some of you hadn't done this one yet, but he's going to start putting away the stick. And I'm still in the fight, and he's going to do this Maki Otoshi here. This is called ichirei. Ichirei means really single or one respect. In other words, I'm not being very respectful here. He's given me the chance to back out, and I'm still trying to kill him. Okay? Let's back up. And to make this, instead of going through the whole kata, I'm thinking that we want to probably just pull out the last part of it. Okay? So that last part, let me change with you here. If we just look at from this point here, okay? Now, go ahead and try cuts. See, where can you cut me without letting go of the sword?
Yeah, taking it.
Yeah, if you let go of the sword, it may be different. Yeah, but two-handed cuts aren't going to work from here. Okay, and when you draw up, you have this. Now try. Where's your cut?
On this side, it's in the way, and the arm's in the way over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. The stick should be right there where you can't get to me. Okay? Now where do you have to go? Okay? Even if you're cutting at that moment, it's going to come right off you. So what we did was we're looking at, from this gyakute posture, if he is coming in to attack, and I drop this in and come straight into him. This technically is part of a different motion, but we can try this for now. I want everybody to grab a partner and get in this posture. Notice where my hand is. It's right in the middle of this stick, and I just got that right into his center, and I'm holding it here. My elbow's underneath, my whole body is underneath the stick. Okay? I'm trusting this kamae. I'm not worried about him cutting me. When he comes up again, I start to run the strike. Now start your cut. Okay, and there's really nowhere for him to go. So in that, at the end, you just pull back. Everybody grab a sword. And I want you to feel what that hanteuchi is. A little bit different hanteuchi. It's feet together and stepping like this. Okay. Yeah, grab a part. Dale, why don't you work with Courtney or John? Doesn't matter. Pat, you get the feel of this? Who's 2, 2, 2, 2? Okay, all right. Exercise. So that piece of that kata is to transition from inside to outside. And we were discussing how it's like, Dylan, borrow you for a second, but in Aikido, you have the same situation where I can be all the way out here and I'm okay. Or if, go ahead and you can attack me if you want. Here, or I can be in here and I'm okay. Once I'm in here, I'm too close for him to get me. Once I'm out here, I'm okay. The problem is if I'm here at this range, I'm in trouble. So how do you transition from being all in to all out? This is what you're doing here. You have to be careful. So in this situation, I've got my stick right in the middle, and as he comes in to attack, I can come in here, and I'm protected. If he's going to take a little step back to try to cut me, look what he did. He get a little bit more than that. Where can you cut me? Yeah. So he took a step back to where he could get at me because he didn't like this place. So when he steps back, I followed him. Now he's going to try to get out and cut me, and I'm going to drive him out. So I've just protected my inside and my middle portion so that I can get back to a distance where, maybe we can conclude this like gentlemen. So I kind of like that particular kata. We showed a little bit of Hosomichi, which was the one where you draw hante like this. And you can see that's really the same thing. It's this idea of using the stick, hiding behind the stick, trusting that kamae to protect you. And this happens in a lot of the Shindo Musuru kata, that you've got these little things that they're not really emphasized. They're not something that someone will normally tell you, oh, you should be doing this. It's just that when you do it right, that's how it works. Okay? Let's take another look at the in and out thing, because those are kind of interesting. There is the previous kata to that is called kasa no shita, which is the underneath the hat one. And this time you're in haso kamae, and you're going to come up and go ahead, bring in, and as you start to come around, I do this, and I meet weapons. So I've got a hante position here. Now usually I'm in this position at this point, but I happen to be here right now. Well, you're kind of blocked on this side. You're going to come in and try a kesa cut over here. So,
all the way up?
Yep, you are in halt. Once again, look at the distance we were at. We were at this distance. So from this distance, when he comes in, I've got my arms out. All I did was I changed my grip, feathered my grip around to here, And this is doburai. This is holding my arms out like this is a form of doburai striking movement. So now I've got this position. I've got this honte. Now, once again, he's protected on this side. If he were to just pull his arms up and cut me from behind, not so good, right? I'm not under the stick. I don't really have his center. What I got one side of him. So from here, when he draws his sword up, I come over here. And now I drop this hand down to here to give me a better angle. And my fist is right at his hara, right in the belt. And now we know this position. We were just there a second ago. So what's going to happen here, this time, instead of just standing his ground and trying to cut me, this time he's going to step over here. And he really wanted my back. And he's going to take a step over there and get my back. And I step over here and strike him this way. Once again, this is a backwards hontage. I'm stepping back and striking here. So let's take a look at that again. And one thing that I think is interesting about those two techniques, we talked a little bit during a break about reading the kata. What's the kata trying to tell you? Well, the last four techniques of omote are all honte-uchi, dominating the center line. And it gives them, you get them in a sequence. It's like reading a book. It's like whoever put this kata together says, okay, well, they do this, then you have this, and you use honte-uchi. Well, you have this situation, you're in closer, you do this, and then you do honte-uchi. You know, neon-uchi is fun. It's short and sweet. You just match weapons. The guy lifts his sword, you do honte-uchi. You're done. I think you don't want to mess with him because he's in your house. And I'm not going to play with you. Just tear him up. So we're in this position here, crossing weapons. When he comes in to cut there, I'm going to come in, on this one, this way. Because he's coming at this angle. And I can block that side. So from this place, drop here. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at his eyes. I just drop the stick right underneath his eyes and step behind it to the side. So here, straight arms, boop. When he steps back, I roll that hand and come in here, drop it in the
Step back, not
center.
just pull back.
Well, where are you going to cut me from?
Oh, well, I want to do here. All right.
Yeah, tip up, by the way. Tip up with the sword. Yeah. And then when he tries to cut my back, he's going to have, if you step out over there, I rotate with you and cut or strike on this line. Okay? This is, now I wanted just to show you a little bit about this. When I'm here, I can use my straight arms. What happened on the next technique? I was good where you had the draw in the hand here. Tip up. From this place, when he did this, look where I am. Look how close I am. I don't have room to get out like this. So this was the one where when he tried that cut, I came in this way.
Well, give him a hand to the sword.
You got to take a half step back.
Hand over here.
Yeah, if I'm close, I come in here and I'm underneath the stick. Back here, I had all of this distance. So, much easier to just poke him with the center, okay? So this one, from this position, 1, 2, be careful with this, don't hit him. When he draws up, follow, he's now going to step around and I pop him. Okay? Let's try it. Okay? So. Huh?
That's a go-kata.
Yeah. This is the go-kata version of Jodo.
Not only the stepping in, but
Understand the katas real well without thinking about what's the sword going to do. And the sword's really a better weapon. And you translated this really well. The sword is always a weapon, and the stick's not. The stick has to be weaponized. It has to be turned into something powerful before it can do anything. Whereas the sword, if you get a 12-year-old in here and give him a sword, he's going to start tearing people up. Yeah. So let's talk for a minute about what the sword, how the sword is used, and how it can be dangerous. Because in Jodo, you start to have the idea that the Jo is the ultimate weapon because it always beats the sword. And well, the sword, Jo has to be really careful, you know. So I think we took yesterday we did a little bit of some of the first basic kata. You know, we did Skizui, we did Monomi, we did little Hisange. Let's take a look. Let's start back with Skizui, okay? Can I get you to it? Well, why don't you do Skizui? I'll use the sword. So let's come this way a little bit. Yeah. Okay. First, yeah, Skizui.
First, yeah.
Boom. This
First one
okay.
or
First one or three, depending on how you're counting. If I stop on my approach, it's one. If I don't stop, it's three, if that makes any sense. So I take my measure of him, and he's got me right here. Now, that's nice and slow, and we can get that done. Let's do it again. And this time I'm not going to wait. Well, that's good. That's exactly right. I cut, I'm going to lift the sword, I'm going to cut again. And what happened is now the kata ended one move early because he did the exact thing that he was going to do and hit my wrist. What if I decide, well, right here, my posture's not taken.
nope.
Right? So I could just do this. Why not? Okay. By the way, that's in omote. There's this idea of hooking the stick and going around it is the second thing you learn. I find that usually in Japanese kata, they will teach you the antidote to a problem right before they show you the problem. So like shomenate is the antidote to, I didn't get behind his arm. You know, I got right in front of him. Oh, geez. So you're inoculated before you come into the problem. So I come here this way. And you notice the eye thread in that. This isn't just waving the stick around. It's coming right into my center line. When I step back, here, he pops me right there. Go ahead and take my center a little bit. There it is. Now I can't really attack him. If I do this, he's just going to knock me down. If I'm here and I'm in good power, I can just pop him. So the element of Kazushi is, and this idea of taking away the space where I need to be is very important in using the Jo to protect against the swordsman. So he's going to take this, he's going to keep this right where my face needs to be, and now I have to step out in order to get my posture back and surrender with dignity. Okay? So that's an element of attacking from above in both places. But you got to think about what's keeping the swordsman from just nailing you. It's the kata. You can't change the kata. When do we do randori and jodo? Every time I do a kata, I do randori and jodo. I just can't afford to lose, you know, because in randori, somebody comes up here and we always go, bop, oh, okay. Well, I didn't quote lose. Well, if I'm interested in learning when am I vulnerable to shomenate, I won by getting hit. But we're talking, you know, Shinken Shobu, life and death matches. So when I come in here and I'm trying to kill him, hey! And that thing flashes into my eyes. And you notice what happened? I had to pull my head back a little bit. I'm kind of in trouble. My center's over here, my head's back here. If I try to come in here, he's gonna gut me. He's got a hold of my center and he's got a strong grip. He's not just gonna let me pull the stick out of the way. A little bit of weight here, make this a wall. Okay, now I'm gonna come back and I've got this hole Now I'm on my back heel. You feel the difference? Now if I try to do this, just shove it. Okay? So you want to feel that control of their whole body with every technique. Let's take a look and play with just this skizue. And I want you to do a little bit of randori with the sword. And one of my students, Nidia Camacho, who's Nidia is, she's a little smaller than you, Courtney, and she has 0 upper body strength, to the point where her doctor told her she has to exercise to support her shoulder. She's devious. She'll be out here and you'll do something with that Joe and she'll go,
Yeah,
gotcha.
every time.
Yeah, look, gotcha. Okay, now it's better. Now I got a problem. Okay, so this same thing we were talking about just earlier. If you were underneath the stick, turn your hand over, turn this front hand, turn it over, and step in underneath the stick. Under. Bend your elbows.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. So we talked about here, this is no good, right? This is good. Here he's blocking from below. In skizue, come back down here, he's blocking from above. And he's blocking my center both times. Control the center, control the center. That's the key element. So let's play with that skizue and that controlling the center from above, and just give yourself a little bit of play with, from where I'm standing, what can I do? Can I just pop him? Can I get to him? Where is the sword going? Okay? Let's play with that. She was trying to knock my face in right here, which is a really good answer, but see right here, it wasn't quite there. So now she's at this place, and now she's in Taitar. And guess what? I got trouble. So what can she do from here? She can shove really good. Just step right through me. So all the tools are there. You got these kihon. They're there for a reason. There's nothing that says if, do you know Monomi number 6?
Okay,
This one.
there.
Now, if I'm going to come and try to cut underneath, you can control the center. You might also just drop down into a squat and do Tayatara down here. Just bring your feet together. Yeah.
That?
Yes. Now I can't even get an angle on her. That's just a really low Tayatara. Okay? There are a lot of possibilities that you can use in the different kata. So thank you very much. It's very good. Let's, where'd my Joe go? Let me borrow a Joe. Thank you, sir. And let me get Dale out here. Ooh, this one feels good. Whose Joe is this? Nice. Stout piece of wood. I like it. So the next one we're going to do, and everybody should go home with bruises right now because we're doing a lot of work with the center. But this next one is called suigetsu. And there's some interesting literature about the term suigetsu and what that means. Suigetsu, literally, sui is water, getsu is moon. And they talk about this, well, this place right here is called suigetsu. Why? The metaphor is that if you're looking at a pond and the water is still, then you can see the reflection of the moon. And anything that happens is instantly reflected in the pond. When the water is turbulent, all of a sudden you can't see the moon, you can't see the shapes, you can't recognize what's happening. And that's what happens. That's a metaphor for your mind. If the mind is still and calm, then I can shadow his motions. There's another meaning of suigetsu, which is that the length of his sword is the length of his shadow. And what I want to do is, I want to be all out or all in. If I'm outside, I'm okay. When he comes in to attack, I'm going to wait for this moment and just change places with him. So now I'm standing inside. Now I have a little bit of a problem here. If I stand here and hang out for a while, he's probably going to turn his wrists and cut me because I'm here. So I get a hold of him here, and I want you to see what I'm doing. I tie this stick to my hip, I pull my shoulder back, and when I do that, this turn happens and pushes him. So it's not just leaning on him, I'm not just putting the stick out. I put the stick here underneath, and my whole body rides in, and I have this place. Then, I make distance. I pushed him away. I went from all in to all out. The transition from being close to being far, and now I'm going to take out, basically it was too far to cut me, so he's going to come in a Chudan position, and I'm going to get rid of that sword and come back in. And I'm going to wait for him to surrender a little bit, and then I can put this away. So some of you know this, some of it may be the first time you've seen it, but what's interesting about, let's do this, change weapons here, is once again, what's the sword doing and what are your options? Tsukizue has more options. This one basically only has one option and it's bad. So we come in to attack here. You're waiting, you're moving. Yeah, and you want to get that hand here. Pull, yeah. Now, point your foot at me, bend your knee. What happens when you bend your knee? You push into me, right? Mm-hmm. So, and this hand here. Now how's that? Should feel pretty strong here. Now, at this point, if I just try to cut you, what do you got to do? You just get the heck out of there. I don't like that position very much. When I have control of the hands here, I like this pretty good. When you've got control of the hands here, I like this pretty good. When you're underneath, I like that pretty good. I don't necessarily like this guy right here very much because my hands are free. I mean, I'm probably just going to, if I do this, yay, I'm just going to come and chop him. I don't have to move. Why would I move? I'm already inside of range. I kind of like this range. This is good. I'm happy. Even if I start raising the sword, what he's done is he's just said, sorry, we're not going to let you. So we had a couple of things that I could do with the sword here. One of them is I could just turn my wrist and try to cut this way. The other thing is if I make my more natural response as a swordsman would be to come up and just cut him here. When I do this, whoa, I get shoved. Now I'm going to be careful with them. Last time I did that and I just attacked him, I didn't like that. I'm going to be a little bit careful with them here. This gives me some options. This position, maybe I can, if he starts to strike, maybe I can come here and come inside. But you use timing in this case. The timing is that when I do this here, by the time I settle into this kamae, it's already being popped out of the way. And this is also suigetsu, that reflection timing. So in both of these cases, you don't want to hang out in the danger zone very long. So, excuse me, here. Too close. So I'm not really giving him time to prepare anything. He gets his sword there, bam, it's gone. So,
It's go cut.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it this advanced timing? This no time to mess around with it. We're not doing a formal here. This is my position drill. It's what's going to happen next. What's the swordsman going to do, and how do I keep him from doing that? So let's try this. Remember, it's just push the stick in, push away. I'm pushing him back, and I'm pushing myself away, separating myself. Hiki Otoshi Kamae. When I do this Hiki Otoshi Kamae, watch my hand. I drop down to here because I've got distance. If I don't have distance, I might keep it here. This is a defensive posture. This is an offensive posture. And the cool thing is the swordsman can't see what you're doing because it's way back here. Just behind my leg. All right. So let's try this now and play with the. If you're learning the kata, do the kata. If you know it, play with it a little bit with the timing. With what's the sword doing? If the swordsman just comes and does this to you, how does that change it? What's different? All right. Thank you. All right. Let's try this. We were talking about this with, I think you said about randori in Aikido last night that you have to break the rules in order to do randori. You're not doing randori if you're following all these rules that we
Get
have.
into a randori relationship without breaking the rules.
Right, right. So traditionally in Jodo, this is really dangerous. And so I was hesitant to do this. I think we're all mature enough that we're not going to try to stick each other, but accidents happen. If you're pushing with that stick and you push into me right now, I could lose teeth. I could get blinded really, really quickly. So it's really a dangerous thing to do. You have to be gentle and look at intellectually what's the relationship here. Don't try to make it a competitive situation. But when we do something like this guy, sugets, so you're coming in with the do here, and I don't know if people really look at this problem. You know, that's the obvious problem. For me, if you've hit me in the center here, you got a moment where you can trap me on my foot as I have to do something to get my sword back up. So you don't want to shortchange that original motion. Okay. But you see that as soon as I lift that sword, you got plenty of time to get out of there.
I felt like that was too late.
That's not bad. Let's try that again. Because this is something also we looked at. And we'll do this tomorrow. We'll do some paired kihons. That's not too bad. But you see how right now you're just affecting the sword. You're not really putting it into my body. So go slow. Come over the top. Follow through and throw Sumi Otoshi with my elbow. Throw my elbow.
With this right foot back, I don't know how to do that.
Oh, sure you do. What do you think? Yeah. See how you're getting a hold of me. This is, let's play with we'll do this tomorrow. I think we'll do some paired exercises to get the feeling of this Hiki Otoshi, Maki Otoshi, these type, because this is Maki Otoshi. If we're doing Maki Otoshi, let's get over here. Doing Maki Otoshi, and you come in, and I coil up here, and I do that. So that's okay. You're a little bit broken down, but if I come here, you can feel that. And that you've got to get. You got to follow the stick, otherwise you're going to lose it. So that's the feeling here of throwing the balance, throwing not just the sword, getting the sword out of the way. If I just do that, oh my gosh, I just put my head in a bad place. But if I do this one, then you have a control of their whole body. And we'll play with that some tomorrow. And there are some paired exercises that I'll show you. They're real, they're just doing the Kihon with each other. And I think those will help you out a lot in developing some of this. But this idea, there is the idea in Hiki Otoshi of keeping this into the face, but you can see how that shortens up the Sumi Otoshi.
Right.
So that one, there's a follow through and then it comes up. And it has a lot more authority in taking care of your body. It gives you that big kazushi that you can then work with. Okay? All right. Anybody have any questions or comments or issues or
Feel the other side
preferences? If I can do it. Not as good for me. And there's a story about Shimizu Sensei. Somebody asked him if there's anything left that he had any goals or things that he wanted to do, accomplish in Jodo after 50 years. And he said, well, I would like for someday for my left side, Maki Otoshi, to be as good as my right side. So, you know, we still got, everybody's got plenty to work on with that. I'll tell you the main thing that fixes this for me is, because I'm still doing a little bit of this hand. If you do this hand, you tend to smack. If you do this hand, you tend to slide. So that's the thing that I'm practicing on for the last 6 months now, has been just using that hand to do the strikes. Okay, let's.
Your next joke lesson is 9 in the morning.
9.
Morning slot.
That's right. We got the morning slot tomorrow. So, is this yours?
It's from the rack. So.
I don't know. Okay. Well, let's just.